Can you achieve your dream physique? In this video, we're about to find out if you can do exactly that, both naturally, with steroids, or with or without good genetics.
So let's start off with what differentiates physiques the most, and that's the amount of muscle mass you hold based on how lean you are. And the best metric we can use to gauge this is FFMI, Fat Free Mass Index. And this is a good indicator to know whether someone is on steroids or not on steroids. Although it obviously isn't everything, there are genetic outliers. Outliers do not make the rule, obviously, and there will be people outside of this standard deviation, but people tend to fall within these ranges. So this is a theoretical distribution of FFMI in steroid users and non-users. And as you can see, roughly the average for gym goers naturally is about 21, 22 is impressive, and 23 is really impressive. For steroid users, it's obviously going to be higher. It's going to be closer to 24 to 25. But there are steroid users that have less muscle mass than some natural lifters, 100%. Matter of fact, I think most steroid users are below the size that you could probably achieve naturally. But it's pretty safe to say, past 26 FFMI, there may be a couple out there, but most of them are on steroids.
And you can actually see for yourself where you sit within this range. You can just look up FFMI scale calculator, and you'll see that first result, and you can simply just estimate where you are.
And actually, for a good gauge, let's just do our FFMI right now, just because you've probably seen our physiques quite a bit, so this is a good example.
So we'll do mine first. So I'm about 191 centimeters. I'm about 95 first thing in the morning fasted. So I'm about 22 FFMI currently.
Yeah, so it's like about average. What am I? I'm about 183. I'm about 86 this morning, and I'm probably 14%. So yeah, around the 22 range. So that fits, around like good, okay? That's very, very achievable naturally. So let's actually take a look at some real life examples of fitness influencers and actors and things like that. Let's go to the beginning, around an 18 FFMI. This is 100% achievable naturally. Everyone in this category is either proven to be natural or is just represents a physique that you could achieve naturally.
And I'd say you could achieve this physique with 3 to 4 years of consistent weight training. Right now, we are at about 5 years. I'd say 4 years of proper training. We made a few mistakes. We've probably been actually locked in for the last 2 years. And we were able to achieve this physique with pretty poor genetics, I'd say. Like growing up, we were very, very skinny, as you can see right here.
And yeah, I think anyone can basically achieve a physique up to here.
Yep.
This isn't to say everyone can achieve it naturally, but it is achievable by some people naturally. Like obviously, Matt Does Fitness I kind of put him in the middle. Yes, he's pretty much proven to be natural. He did the randomized blood work for about a year straight. It would be very hard to fail those tests. It's pretty safe to say he's a natural. But that is with probably the best genetics there is.
Yeah.
0.01% genetics.
Yeah, if you're expecting to look like Matt Does Fitness, training naturally, yeah, you probably can't, unfortunately.
And on top of that, he's been training for longer than most people have even been alive.
Yep.
So that's decades in the gym with the best genetics. So most people, I'm just going to be honest, are not going to get here naturally. They're just not. Most of them aren't even going to get to Jeff Nippard's level. Once again, I'm pretty sure he's been training for over a decade. Jesse James West, probably slightly above average genetics, been training for ages. It's his full-time job once again. So these three physiques here are for the top of natural lifters. But below that, Joe Fazer, he's been training for, I might be way off here, 6 or 7 years now. He has pretty average genetics, maybe below average genetics. So I think this is like one of the best examples you can point to when it comes to achieving like the dream natural physique. You'll kind of hit a plateau around this amount of muscle mass here.
And I don't think that's a bad thing if you're in his position. I mean, he has the AAA physique. He literally does. He's got the best physique when it comes to real world results. I mean, he's built a full-time business around his physique. He has an attractive physique. It's aesthetic. And he didn't have the best genetics. He looked similar to us when he started, if not even worse. And he's proved to himself and everyone else that you can achieve a very good physique naturally.
And then even over here, the Brad Pitt Fight Club physique. I know this is a lot of people's dream physique, and I'm just going to break the good news to you, bro. You probably already got this amount of muscle mass. If you've been training for a year or two, bro, you get lean, you've got this physique. It's simple as that. It's not that hard to get this physique. You just get to like 9% body fat and you're there. So now let's shift our way over to what is achievable with steroids. Now, this is not to say if you take steroids, you'll look like this. It's just that taking steroids takes the ceiling off of it.
Yeah.
You will hit a ceiling when you're natural. After 5 years of training, you will hit a little bit of a wall. Yes, you can gain muscle after that, but you're fighting for like 1 to 2 pounds a year.
So if you think The Rock isn't on steroids, I'm sorry, but you're kind of retarded. This dude blasts gear. All of these guys do. Same with Chris Hemsworth. If you think he's natural, I think you need your head checked. Okay, yes, maybe he's like the one outlier in the world that can look like this naturally. And I'll stand corrected. But yeah, you're not looking like this naturally.
But here's the thing, right? Mattel's fitness looks better than Chris Hemsworth. I just put him in the steroid category because he is on steroids. He just is. He's in the film industry. They have a monetary incentive to push it to the limits, right? He has a short time to gain that amount of muscle mass. It's not happening naturally. Some guys in the world could achieve that naturally. Mantos Fitness is already there. However, for the fast results you need to fit into movie roles, he's on steroids. And then we get into the guys everyone knows is on steroids. They compete, obviously they are on steroids. And this is where genetic factors come into play. Past this point, you don't just need steroids, you need steroids plus genetics, plus the best training and nutrition. Like, you literally need every single good factor to work in your favor in order to compete at the top level. That's just what separates the top guys. It's genetics.
Yeah, and also the gear protocols. Like, we're using steroids as this massive blanket term, but obviously doses vary anywhere from like TRT, replacement therapy, 150 milligrams to literally 3 grams of total gear, which these guys are on. So not only do you have to be on steroids, you have to be on a lot of steroids. More than you probably think, more than these guys are even admitting to.
Yeah, I don't think guys really have a grasp on how much gear the pros take. Okay, yes, once they're at that pro level, they do tend to take down the steroids a little bit just to look after their health a little more, and they're not looking to gain really any extra size because they're at a weight cap, right? But to put on that muscle mass, to put on 100 pounds of lean tissue like Nick Walker did, I would not be surprised if he was pushing 5 grams on some cycles or on contest prep. 5,000 milligrams of total anabolic use. Someone like Chris Bumstead maybe didn't shoot it that high, but to put on that size, I wouldn't be surprised if even a classic competitor got up to 2-3 grams of gear use. Maybe now, yes, he's on TRT or he's hovering around a gram if he's running a cycle, but it's like not even close to something that like Chris Hemsworth might be on for a movie role. It's completely different. They're literally holding 50 to 100 pounds more muscle mass.
So now let's look at if you can achieve your dream physique, which is completely dependent on what your dream physique is. If you're looking at Ryan Terry here, could you achieve his physique? Yeah, maybe if you had his genetic shape, if you had his waist, if you had his insertions. These guys also, like Will said, have the top level genetics in terms of natural shape, their bone structure, and all the other variables. So I'm just going to be honest, probably not. You probably can't achieve Ryan Terry, Chris Bumstead, Nick Walker's physique. That's not me hating. That's just a reality.
Well, because if you could achieve Ryan Terry's physique, you would be winning men's physique IFBB pro shows. But you're probably just not going to get there. Even if you take steroids, yes, you could 100%, almost anyone can get that amount of muscle mass, right? He's not holding like a Nick Walker level of muscle mass, but it's the shape. Okay, you can take all the gear in the world. If you don't have the shape for it, you will not look aesthetic. You will look bloated. You'll have a bunch of muscle mass in the wrong areas. And realistically, if your diet and your training is not locked in, you're just not going to be able to use those anabolics to really grow.
But most of you probably don't even want to get there. You would probably agree, much like me and Will, that it's not really going to yield you any real world results that we actually want. And if you're watching our channel, you probably want that. If you want attraction from your physique, you just want a nice, lean, aesthetic physique that looks good in the real world. You look good in clothes. You're just objectively attractive, right? You probably want to look something like maybe Jesse James West or even Joe Frazier or even the Fight Club physique. And if that's the case, well, that's very easily achievable. It only takes a couple years in the gym completely naturally.
And another thing a lot of guys don't mention is height.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff Nippard is I think like 5'5" or 5'6". If you hold Jeff Nippard's amount of muscle mass, which is already genetically very great with a decade of training, at 6'2", you just won't look like Jeff Nippard. You would look something closer to Joe Frazier.
Yeah, I mean, I know for myself, I'm a rather tall guy you've seen before. I have to put on a lot of muscle mass to look anything like these guys. Like, there are guys at a 22 FFMI that look way better than me. Way better than me. And like, my dream physique would be something like maybe John Skywalker or who else? You know what? I don't really have a dream physique, actually. I just kind of want to get as big as possible, as aesthetic as possible. But yeah, something like John Skywalker. I don't have his genetics, I don't have his waist, so I just understand I have to put on a lot more size to look anything like these guys.
Now, here's the caveat with this, right? Just because I've put Matt Does Fitness in achievable naturally doesn't mean you could get there naturally. For most guys, you would probably have to take steroids to look like Matt Does Fitness, and actually probably more steroids than some of these guys, right? It massively depends on your genetics and even how you handle steroids. Are you a hyper tolerator or are you a hyper responder? Maybe you can get to a Matt Does Fitness size with TRT. Maybe you might need to run a gram to even get to a Jesse James West or a Jeff Nippard size. There are probably people at your gym running 2 grams of total anabolics that are no bigger than Joe Fazer. I know this. There are guys out there that are running massive cycles and just using that as a crutch, not fixing their diet, not training with intensity, living like a degenerate, that are smaller than most natural lifters.
So let's go through each stage of physique and sort of build you out a rough plan as to what you would need to do to achieve that level of physique. So these guys, achievable naturally, whether you want the Fight Club physique or you want the Joe Fazer physique, you need to have a rigorous diet routine. You need to prep your meals. You need to make sure you're eating properly. And if you want to get as lean as the Fight Club physique, you need to be in a strict calorie deficit and you need to get down to 9% body fat, which includes, like I said, a rigorous diet plan.
Because here's the thing, right? It is just so funny, man. The cobras in the comment section that constantly tell me, get to be healthy, you need to be 15 to 20% body fat. You can't keep your testosterone when you're lean. Oh, by the way, guys, if you guys know Daka, the guy we're transforming our physique, he just got his testosterone checked. He's year round about 8% body fat. And I already knew this. But he got his blood work back at, I'm not going to expose his exact numbers, but it was over 600 nanograms a deciliter. He's at 8% year round. His diet is terrible. Right? He lives like a degenerate and he has great testosterone levels. Now, obviously there are genetic factors, but I just want to put this shit to rest that if, or you're 10% body fat, your testosterone crashes. Are you an idiot? No. Okay, it doesn't crash. But what I will say is that all the examples of good physiques will always be when they're lean. So just stop telling me you look good when you're fat. Otherwise, when you look up good physique, it would come up with 15 to 20% body fat people. It just doesn't, okay? And also the people they hire for movie roles would be 15 to 20%, but they're not.
And obviously, with the diet plan, you need the training plan. You need to lock in your diet. If you just want those things in check, just go to that first link in the description. It's got the complete system, the A to Z system to build the AAA physique, completely laid out there for you. And unfortunately, if you do join, the bad part is that it leaves you with no excuses because you literally have everything at that point. You've got a community to keep you accountable. You've got us to message for any questions, and we do this as a full-time job. So unfortunately, there will be no questions unanswered. So yeah, if you just want to build a AAA physique, go to that first link in the description and it will tell you literally everything you need to know.
Now, the difference between the Fight Club physique, Joe Fazer, and moving up towards the end of achievable naturally is just time. It's just time consistently doing those good habits. Matt Does Fitness has been on his diet, better on his diet than you have probably been for any longer than a week straight. But he's been doing that for decades. It really takes just such a long time, longer than people expect. And it discourages a lot of guys when I tell them, yep, what you want to achieve is a decade in the gym. They say, well, I don't want to wait a decade. I say, well, then just don't achieve the physique. You know, some guys want to do it, some guys don't. The time's going to pass anyway, but that's a story for another day. I'm just letting you know that if you want to achieve that level of muscle mass, yes, it is just a long time in the gym. It's monotonous. It's consistently rocking up, consistently being on your diet, and having good genetics.
All right, so then we move up to the achievable with steroids category. So obviously the first thing you need to do is put the needle to the tip. You need to inject anabolic steroids and get that flowing through your bloodstream, right? At any dose. Like I said before, these guys, Chris Hemsworth, he could have been on 150 milligrams if he was a good responder. He could have been on 300. Fuck it, he could have even been on like 500 plus maybe. I don't think he would have needed it, but you never know how people respond to steroids. But that would be the first thing you would need to do to achieve a steroid level physique.
But this does not change exactly what the guys previously were doing. These guys just added in an extra variable on top of their already vigorous training, nutrition plan in order to see these results. And like I mentioned, not everyone can even get here on steroids. You could just be a hyper tolerator and you might take another decade even on steroids or TRT to get to some of these levels.
So in terms of achieving this level of physique, it could be like a decade on like a TRT dose, or it could be maybe 5 years blasting and cruising or maybe even 2 or 3 years with great genetics, blasting at high doses and not coming off, which is, believe it or not, what a lot of these guys do.
Yeah, and then like to get these looks, like obviously competitors take it to a whole new level. They have vigorous compound protocols. You know, they're stacking 5 or 6 compounds at the same time towards the end of a prep. They're on fat burners, sometimes diuretics. That's kind of fading out now. A lot of competitors don't use that. Some Anavar, probably even harsher orals and things like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if like a Chris Hemsworth was just on like a moderate dose of TRT, maybe did some Anavar. Actually, what am I talking about? Look at his physique. Yeah, he's probably just blasting his socks off. Forget that.
All right, so then we have steroids and genetics. So this would be the plan I would give you for having a physique like this. The first thing I would get you to do is go back to when you were born and reincarnate with better parents, because you need the genetics to start with. And then I would prescribe you with over a gram of total anabolics. I would give you a full bodybuilder coach who coaches you to do everything, and you would need to stay locked in and consistent with your diet, your training, and you would have to be in it, like really in it. You would have to be doing it as a full-time job to achieve this level of physique. You do not even see these guys in your gym. And if you do, that's crazy.
Yeah, these guys have to basically give up their whole life. Like they dedicate their life to it. And a lot of guys just aren't willing to do that. Like not even close to that. So I mean, that's completely fine. Most people don't want to get here. There's probably only 1 or 2 people watching this video that say, yeah, I would love to look like Nick Walker. To me, Nick Walker looks like he's knocking on death's door. Okay, so to hyper summarize, it is a little bit stupid to give out like a blanket statement like this, but I believe basically everyone, given any time in the world, like a decade plus, can achieve up to a Jesse James West, Jeff Nippard physique.
Yep.
Everyone. Okay. If we include steroids in the mix, let's say you're open to steroids, everyone can get up to a Chris Hemsworth, maybe the Rock level. But there are a lot of guys that could do as much steroids as they want and never achieve the Rock physique, right? There are just genetic factors. There are a certain amount of androgens you have genetically. There you have myostatin genetics. There are so many different things. But I think it's only the elite genetic responders, people that are willing to dedicate their life, that can see Ryan Terry and above. I think that's pretty fair. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What is your dream physique? Where would you like to get to? And what's your plan to get there? Because I think you need a decent plan. None of these guys just wing it. Not a single one just feels it out and does this and does that and kind of just works it out randomly. Okay. Everyone here has a plan to get to where they got to. Obviously, the movie role guys literally had physique coaches to get them those physiques for those movie roles.
What I'd do is I'd just look at someone with similar genetics that is maybe 2 or 3 years ahead of you and just inspire to get to that level, because that is very achievable. It is very easy to look at guys who have superior genetics and that have been in the gym longer and get discouraged because you know that you're not going to achieve that physique, or you're discouraged because you don't feel you're at that level yet. So just look at guys that you feel you could get to and that you realistically see yourself achieving in the next couple of years and work your ass off to get there. Like I said, if you want to build a AAA physique, that first link in the description will give you everything you need, and we even do live calls on there so you can ask us questions. And if you want to keep binging some Harley Twins content while learning how to build the AAA physique, we've got a guide on exactly how to do that. It's exactly how to build the AAA physique, A to Z.